All right, today we're going to be talking about women who waste a hell of a lot of time in relationships that are not going anywhere. So, if you are a woman, or if you have been a woman in the past who has stuck around in a relationship for months and months, and years, and a man's not leading towards marriage and lifetime commitment in some kind of way, that's a really big problem. So it's especially a big problem for a woman because, yeah, well, especially if you want a family, it's a really, really big problem because you got a limited amount of time for that. You got a ticking biological clock. But even without that, even if you're not interested in a family, even if you're past that time or you're just, well, for whatever reason, not interested, it's still a problem because you're continuing to get older. And the longer that you stick around with a man who is not leading towards lifetime commitment, the harder it's going to be to find a really high quality man um, as you get older. Not impossible, especially not if you work with us in our academy program, but it does get harder, right? And so you need to be really smart about dating as a woman. You need to really be uh, you need to be really aware of what you're doing and whether you're wasting time or not. And of course, there's all these stories that come up in the news. Now, I don't follow celebrities. I think that's all bullshit. But I do see it. I do see that stuff pop up time from time to time, where women will be stuck in these relationships for years and years and years and years and years, and then their man like goes off and finds somebody, like meets somebody else, and then they get married in like 3 months or 6 months or 9 months or whatever. And so, what happened there? What the hell happened? Well, that woman wasted a lot of her time, unfortunately, because she wasn't dating very smart. She didn't realize what was really going on and that she was wasting her time. When I met my wife, see, I'm not a time waster, and you know, when I know, right, when I know that a woman's the right woman, um, I'm going to be leading forward towards marriage. And that's exactly what I did. And the thing with me is, when I was single, I just wouldn't date anyone exclusively unless I knew that it's like, this is a girl that I'm going to marry, right? Um, but a lot of men, what they will do is they will get into a relationship with a woman, even if they really don't have much in the way of plans of ever marrying her, right? Like a really masculine man, the dominant man, who wants to lead things forward, who wants to have a family with a woman, when he finds that woman, he's going to be the only reason not to get married at that point is to be smart enough about it to make sure, okay, is this definitely the woman, right? And that's what I did with my wife, right? So we dated for a few months, but I was like, leading forward, I was getting to know her to be like, do I want to spend the rest of my life with this woman? I chose to move in with her for the very explicit reason, and I told her, like, that's we're gonna move in together to make sure that this makes sense, basically, like, because I'm moving in this direction as far as wanting to be committed to you for life. I didn't say it exactly like that, but that's basically the intention I had, that was very clear for both of us. But what a lot of men will do, see that my wife, I could tell, was the right woman for me. And so I made that very clear. But what a lot of men do is they will get involved with a woman, date a woman, get into a relationship with a woman, a serious relationship, like exclusive relationship, and even invite her to move in with him without really having that clear intention. And for a woman, that can, well, it's going to be a big waste of time, and she's not necessarily going to know, right? And a big reason for this, you know what, a really big reason for this is, it's because men and women don't communicate. It's like there's so many issues that men and women have with just being honest with what is going on, with what their intentions are, with what they're feeling. And so they keep this stuff back. My wife and I, we were talking about marriage on like the third date. We were talking about children on I think maybe second date, moving in, all of that kind of stuff. Now I brought that up, and it wasn't in a like a weird, creepy way. It was just it was an interesting conversation. Okay, so women will stick around with either the wrong man, like so. There's two possibilities, right? It's the wrong man, where literally nothing that she could ever do will ever be good enough. It just she's the wrong woman for him. But he keeps her because, well, they're having sex and they're having fun, and it's better than being single, right? It's like, yeah, and a man can love her, right? It's not like a man that the man doesn't necessarily love her. It's just like I've loved women before where I knew they weren't the right woman for me. Okay, men will do that. Women will do that as well. So I've done that, but I knew that I would never ever marry those women, like ever, no matter what they did, no matter how much they shifted in some kind of way. And as a woman, you really don't want to be in that position. And you might be in that position and not even know it. Or you've been in that position in the past, or you might be in that position in the future. How would you know? Right? Well, you're going to know the more that you start to use feminine communication, the more that you start to learn how to be radically honest in a feminine way. Don't be radically honest in a masculine way, because that's a great way to ensure that you'll never get married unless you got like a really, really feminized, emasculated man. But for a man who's more in his masculine energy, that would be the worst thing that you can do, right? But women will hide so much of themselves, hide their feelings, hide what they need, hide, like they'll have questions, a lack of clarity on so much, and they'll hold that back out of fear of scaring a man away, or thinking that, oh, I don't want him to think that that I'm too needy, or like burdening him or some way, or like pushing him, blah blah blah. And yeah, if you're in masculine energy and using some form of masculine communication, or softened masculine communication, which is what most femininity coaches unfortunately teach today, then yes, you will be doing all of those things and it will be a problem. But remaining silent, holding things back, that's one of the best ways to ensure that you're never going to get that devoted man who wants to lead towards marriage. Why? Because you're not in your self-worth. Men don't want to marry women who are not in their feminine self-worth. And if you are holding back, you are not in your self-worth. Okay? 100% chance you're not in your self-worth. A woman who's fully in her feminine self-worth is going to always be speaking the truth. Like, really picture this. Imagine this for a moment. Like, imagine how you would be showing up differently if you held back nothing ever. It's like you are emotionally naked to the man that you're with all the time. You are fully exposing yourself in every kind of way. You're exposing your flaws, you're exposing all your feelings, you're exposing, the things that you need, all in a feminine, vulnerable way, all in the way that I teach, but you hold nothing back. That's a woman who is operating, well, it's one of the big pieces for a woman to be operating in her self-worth. If you're hiding, you're not in your self-worth, okay? And then it's unlikely that you're going to get that marriage proposal, at least if you're with a really masculine man, right? There's lots of emasculated men that will throw marriage proposals, at everybody the first chance they get because they want to lock a woman down. And I'm talking about a masculine man. You don't want those really emasculated men. You need to learn how to do this. It's how much time do you have? So if you're with a man right now, so say for some of you who are listening to this, you're going to be with a man right now. And is he making it clear that he's leading towards marriage? I proposed to my wife after 7 months. 7 months. And it was obvious before that. And we'd been talking about it before that. It doesn't take years, just so you know. It doesn't take years for a man to figure this stuff out. It doesn't. you've been with a man for, let's say, 2 years or a year and a half even, and there's not leading forward towards marriage, there's something wrong. Okay. So what could be wrong? Two things that could be wrong. Number one, you're just the wrong woman for him, and nothing's going to change that no matter what you do. Number two, you are not in your feminine self-worth, right? You're not being the feminine woman that you could be. You're not being the feminine woman that he needs, right? So his needs aren't being met. He's not being fully respected. He's not being fully trusted. Um, you're not fully submitting to him, or you're holding back in some kind of way. You're holding back. Um, and actually, and another one is you don't have a total willingness to flow away from the relationship if it came down to it, right? Like you're holding on because you lack self-worth. A man's going to feel all of that, right? He's going to feel the lack of respect. He's going to feel the lack of self-worth in you. And what's going to happen? He's just not going to be motivated to move things forward. He might be contemplating it in some kind of way, but he's not going to be really driven in the way that he could be. He might be, trying to figure things out. Like the more that you're in your masculine energy, or the lower that your self-worth is as a woman, the longer it's going to take for a man to figure things out. Typically, the longer it's going to take, and it doesn't have to take a long time. May I say, I was with a guy for 5 years. I think he was afraid of committing. Yeah. See, so a few things about that, right? You stuck around with him for 5 years. And by the way, I'm not blaming you in any kind of way. I want you to see what's going on. You stuck around with a man who was not leading things forward for 5 years. So you enabled it. You tolerated a man that's not leading, that's not truly committing. A woman who's fully in her feminine self-worth, once she can tell, okay, he's not really leading things forward, I'm out. Bye. I'm gonna find somebody else. I'm gonna find a man who's willing, because I know that I deserve better. And it's as simple as that. Like, it'll be painful. Yeah, it'll absolutely be painful as hell, probably, if you're in love with him. But she's just going to leave. But of course, you can't just you can't just choose to do that if you're not in your feminine self-worth to begin with, right? If you don't know how to use feminine communication properly, you don't know how to fully expose yourself, you don't know how to fully respect him. It's like, what I'm not telling you to do as a woman is like, well, it's been a year and a half, or it's been 2 years, and Zach said on this video that I guess every man should be giving me that proposal after a year, or not my self-worth, so I'm out. Yeah, you do that, and then you're just going to get into the same problem every single relationship, right? Why? Well, because a man was not convinced that you're right for him, because you're not showing up in your feminine self-worth. Right. So it would be like a guy, let's flip this around. It's like an emasculated guy. He doesn't really know how to lead. You don't really feel that attracted to him. And then he's like, okay, I'm going to propose to a woman after 1 year, and my woman. And if she says no, then I'm going to the next one. Guess what? No woman's going to want that proposal. Right. Unless she's really not in her self-worth and she's just desperate. She barely likes him. It's the same kind of thing. It's the same kind of thing, because you need to fix yourself first. Can't speak. You need to fix yourself first before you decide to walk away from something, because there's a lot that you need to work on for yourself. Okay, there's a lot that you need to shift to be in your self-worth, and then you see what kind of person you're dealing with, right? So as a woman, now you see what kind of man that you're dealing with. It's like, okay, I'm fully in my self-worth. I'm showing everything. I'm being permissive. I'm sharing all of my feelings. I'm sharing all of my needs. I'm not holding back in any kind of way. I'm fully respecting him. I'm fully submitting to him. And I'm not trying to control a damn thing anymore in myself or in him. And either, at that point, if you're actually there, then any man is damn lucky to be with you. He's damn lucky to be with you. And if you get to that point and he's still not leading things forward towards commitment, are you going to spend another year, another 2 years, another 5 years with him? Not if you're in your self-worth. You got to have that willingness fuck this. I'm out. Like I deserve better than this. I need a man who knows, who's clear-headed enough, who's smart, say smart enough, who's a leader enough to know what he wants, and he fully claims me. And it's not about having standards or anything like that. It's not about being masculine in that sense. It's just you know what you need. And if he can't give you what you need, then you're out because you know that you deserve better. All right. Yeah. May I say I was afraid to? I'd been married and divorced, and it was so painful. Neither of us were quite lined up for marriage. Yeah. Yeah, well, and that's the other thing, right? So if you got all of these, so there's many aspects that can be in the way, but that's another thing. Like so say you're not lined up with a man for marriage, right? Like if he's just not I don't know if this is what you're saying. He's not the right person. I mean, just by sticking around with him, it's like you're settling, right? You're just settling for less than you deserve, and so you're not in your self-worth. Number one. And then if it's because um you just don't know, and again, if you don't know how to show up in the best way that you can, then of course you're not going to be lined up, right? Neither person's going to be lined up if you haven't done your own work, because then it's just two wounded individuals to some extent. So fear is going to play a huge part in all of this. And yeah, you got to make a choice as a woman. Okay, you got to make a choice. It's a difficult choice as a woman, that you're going to learn to be the absolute best woman that you can be, number one, and that you're going to flow away from anything less than you deserve, number two. And you're not going to be able to know when to do number two if you don't do number one, right? If you don't learn how to show up properly. So that's what we help women with in our academy program. That's where we show you exactly how to communicate, show you how to let go of control, show you when to flow away if you're not getting what you want. So you're not wasting your time with men that are time wasters, and you find out what kind of man you're dealing with. And if you're single, like if you don't even have a partner, that's great, because that's going to, then you can tend to weed out those kind of men much earlier before you even start wasting that time. But you need to learn feminine communication. And that's what uh, if you haven't learned anything about feminine communication from my work yet, you got to start. You got to start somewhere. And if you're not ready to join our academy program, then start with my books. Start with our master class. Okay, that's going to give you a really good idea. And we're going to I go so much deeper, way deeper than what we do in these videos, right? Where I give you a lot of practical advice about what to do, about how to communicate in various situations, how to communicate your needs, how to communicate your feelings, some stuff on when to walk away, right? So you don't end up getting hurt, or at least not nearly as hurt as you could. Instead of just stumbling around in the dark, right? Don't stumble around in the dark. Take action. Take action. Take steps forward to learn this stuff, so that you have a much better idea of how to navigate dating and relationships, right? You probably spent years studying how to do whatever job that you have, or some kind of education for years. And this is the problem with people in general. You spend years you spend years learning how to perform a job properly, and then you learn how to navigate a relationship from free videos, or from by just having your parents role model it for you, which is usually terrible, or some crummy magazines that from celebrities that have no idea how to have a functional relationship, right? Like it's just, you need to get really smart and get really serious about taking action to improve your love life. How to show up in a way where you're actually going to get results. So that's what I show you how to do. My books and my masterclass, actually, and my free webinar are the way to start doing that. You find all of those on my website, relationshipyourdreams.com. It's below my face on this video. Just type it into your search bar, and make a choice. Like, choose. I'm going to start learning this. I'm going to start learning this. I'm going to start to learn how to practically apply this into my life right now. Okay. Our next masterclass, which is like, that's going to be the really big thing that blows your mind open as far as how to show up. That's in 12 days. Okay. It's the start of September. If you haven't booked a spot for our masterclass, you've never done it before, you've got to do it. It's $47. 2 hours of us showing you how to communicate and actually role playing for you what this communication looks like. Don't wait any longer. Take this seriously. How many more weeks, how many more months, how many more years are you going to waste not figuring this out? It's not like this costs that much to really start making these shifts forward, but you got to make that choice. Just do it. I want to see you on that masterclass. It's going to be the most mind-blowing 2 hours of your life if you actually take this seriously. Stop wasting your time in relationships. If you don't know what you're doing, if your needs are not being fully met, if you're not being fully cherished, if you don't have a man or you haven't experienced men, masculine men who are leading you forward into lifetime commitment, which unless you're happily married right now, well, then you weren't experiencing that and you haven't, right? If you're not experiencing that, if you haven't experienced that, then learn how. Take action. I will see you there on the masterclass. Go to relationshipyourdreams.com, book your spot, and start changing your life.